development that young people can come up with, so that you can share with us some?
Yes, innovative approaches.
Yes.
Yes. The first and foremost is look at the prevailing problems that we have in this country. Of recent, we saw how the Casaseros had to kill people. The heap, how it had to come down at the valley, and it ended up burying people alive. So at that time, we would have looked at people who could like harvest biogas from that. That's a lot of, it is a big plant that can produce biogas that can light probably half of Uganda, or a quarter of Uganda. Yes, and not only lighting but also producing fuel, and it would also solve the problem of deforestation, whereby we are using charcoal and the like. So that gas would be used for cooking. So that is an innovative approach. So you think of what is the prevailing problem and then deal with it. Then we need also to look at Africa. It has a potential market. The reason why they brought Chinatown down here, it's because they know that Ugandans have money and Ugandans are good at purchasing. So we have a high purchasing power. Therefore, that market, if it is harnessed, like through the other issue of buy Uganda, build Uganda. Let's look at the small thing that we are importing. Safety pins, toothpicks, matchboxes, all of that. Can we have like youth who pull resources together and they are able to begin maybe one factory, and we say we need a mandate from the government to protect this factory, no more importing matchbox. And the government is very supportive. It will literally support them. So that is an innovative solution for sustainable development. So if the youth wake up today and they pull together their resources, I mean, it actually, for them themselves, they are a resource because they have that cheap manpower. I would call it cheap because it is moderate. They can provide it. The reason why China developed much more, it's because of its population dividend. They had many people who would provide the cheap labor, and that's how they ended up producing everything that we are using in this world. When you go to America, you find there things made in China. Much as for them, they are more of greater quality than what we are importing here. But everywhere you go in this world, you find there things made in China.
Doctor, you're talking about all this, but don't you think that the problem now comes from, for example, your appropriate of a school? Don't you think that it all comes from the way these children are trained, all the way from primary, where they are trained to be job seekers, they are trained to think about the white-collar jobs? Because when we get back to the nursery rhymes we used to have, where you are singing a song and then you say, when I grow up I want to be a doctor, I want to be a nurse, I want to be this. No one ever said I want to be this or this in form of innovations. All of us were looking at the other professional jobs which have...
which are pre-designed.
Exactly, pre-designed. And you realize that because the population is growing and very many people are running for those professions, I think it's the reason the government is even failing to deploy interns, medical interns, because the numbers are becoming bigger. But don't you think the problem is now in the education system?
Yeah, yes, we need to change the mindset. Yes, education system, yes, from primary now to secondary, they have introduced a new curriculum whereby it has to teach people to have hands-on.
Which also has issues up now.
Yeah, which still has issues, but at least by the time someone completes senior 4, even if they just stop there, they have some skill. They know what they can do. We are not teaching them only to have the white-collar jobs, but we have to begin with the mindset change. Like an example we used of Karamoja, whereby they knew nothing can grow there and nothing happens there. But people asked, and now they have showed us that it is possible. So if it is possible, then these young people can also be told that yeah, you are no longer studying just to get a job and sit in the office, but you can still be a manager of a poultry farm and be able to make money out of your chicks. So all we need the government to help is to develop the infrastructure that supports this, like in terms of having energy, the power, and also like maybe good roads. Of recent, they have really invested in making roads in Kampala. Almost every road is being worked on. I think the government needs to be upheld for that because of what they are doing. So all we have to do, let's have our students have like a global kind of partnership. Can we bring, we are talking of the East Africa community, can we bring the Rwandese, Kenyans, Ugandans, South Sudanese, and maybe Congolese and what, in one pool? Those who are sharp minds, have them in one place and then train them a bit, then send them to different so-called developed countries. I cannot say so-called because that's what we all look at. Yes. Yes. Send us some to US, some to Germany, to Taiwan and where. And then they come back here and they are able to implement what they learned from there. So if they come, they will be able to influence their communities, because you know there is what we call opinion leaders in every country. So let's have these opinion leaders developed right from the grassroots. So that approach, I think if Mr. President can just be the one to spearhead it, because I think he's more senior in the East Africa community, and we bring these sharp minds from all over and then send them as our emissaries to different continents to go and learn, and then tell them to come back and teach exactly what they learned from there. We shall change the mindset of Africans, and we shall be able, people will love their continent, and we shall not have the brain drain, people running away from this continent. They will stay because they will know that there are many opportunities here, and they will be able to transform this continent.
Well, let's take a short commercial break, Doctor. When we return, we are going to now discuss something to do with digital. Kindly stick with us when we return.
Family TV, enriching lives. Family TV, enriching lives.
Welcome back from that break. We are discussing entrepreneurship potential for Uganda's youth. We have a lot that we can talk about. This is our second part of this edition of our Wednesday Family Hour. Adrian Austin Mukalas is my name, with Dr. Benita Rumanzi. Doctor, before the break, you had actually talked about benchmarking. Now, the problem with benchmarking, I believe this is something that the government would have picked up, but the problem is when you take people to benchmark how things happen elsewhere, they don't want to come back. When they go, they stay there, and now they start fighting the government.
Adrian, there must be policy guidelines, and it must be well documented that if you give someone a scholarship to go and probably study abroad, then they should first come and serve their country. for the first 3 years or 5 years before they are left free. So once those guidelines are in place, someone who applies for that scholarship must be having a tire, like it is a loan that you must pay back. Come back and first work. I have seen this work in Asmara, Eritrea. The Eritreans, the moment someone completes, senior 6 or whatever, and before they go to the university, they have to first go for military training, and all you have to do, you have first serve your country in various capacities, like the way you see the military brigade here, UPDF brigade is doing in this country. So, but for them, it is mandatory.
Yeah, everyone,
yes, everyone must do it before they go and be freelancers and start doing their own things. So that is exactly, if you have documented it and it is a policy, everyone will follow it and say, this is how we do it in our country.
Doctor, we talk about the digital revolution. You realize that everything is going digital. And there are very many opportunities in the digital world. But also, increasingly, there are a lot of issues associated with the digital. And as we talk about the digital, it's true that there are these millennials and Gen Zs that understand the digital world more than probably maybe the Gen Xs and all those other brackets. But how can young people tap into the opportunities that come by the digital revolution?
That is a very serious challenge to the Gen X, like you said. Because these days you wake up in the morning and you find something flickering on your phone and telling you, come and get a free loan in the next shortest time possible. Then
just send your ID.
Just send your ID and do this. And sometimes some people may not be correct, and you send your biodata and all the information. At the end of the day, it may be hacked into. You've seen these people who say UNICEF is sending money and the like, and people have hacked their phones. So people have abused digital revolution, and they have used it as also to spread propaganda. There are long messages and long information that goes to the public simply because someone sat in his room and cooked that information. And with this AI phenomenon that has come in, when people come in and like you have every question has an answer. So at this time, it is a high time for the youth to be vigilant and know that much as there is a digital revolution, then what do you do to benefit from it, rather than just being taken in a bandwagon. We talked about the Chinatown. People just shared it. There are people who know how to blog. The bloggers, influencers. They influenced people, and almost half of Ugandans were there. And the place just accommodates over 3,000 for one sitting. It has one entry and one exit. But people packed themselves inside.
Because surprisingly, even Casita and other business owners downtown went there to benchmark and see what is really happening here. So they came out with reports and they're like, there is a problem.
And they said, now, what you have to do is when you go there in such a place, these days we have a terror alert in this country. So you need to understand that getting in a crowded place and you there, anything can happen. So I'm not discouraging people from being doing the shopping and the like, but you shop with wisdom. Don't just follow bandwagon. Because I don't think what people were going there to buy, they really needed all those things. They were influenced to do it. But again, if when you go, you follow those like in digital revolution, the influencers can influence you to do something which you don't really think about. But there is a saying that I love about Chairman Mao, the once president of China. He said that if two people agree all the time, and like you have an influencer who causes you to follow them and follow them all the time, then it means you are not thinking. Can we also put in that psychology and think, why is this person saying this? Why is he marketing this? That's why many young people have been lured through network marketing, and they have lost the little and valuable resources that they had. They have lost it through network marketing, through gambling, through betting. You understand? So all they need to know is, let's see what can we do. If someone comes with something that glitters, first test it if it is true gold.
You've actually talked about gambling. You realize that these days, even the betting companies have digital sites where you no longer have to go into their betting hall and sit there and do all. You can even do all that stuff, and you realize that all the target are the young people. But now the thing is, how can young people benefit in this revolution, the digital revolution that we are in? That every day that passes, there are a lot of things that come on board that are digital. But how can the young people, instead of being manipulated, instead look at this as an opportunity?
Yes, they should be encouraged to think before they act, to think through the lines. Because if you just follow anything sheepishly, you end up messing up. So what we tell them is, yes, there is this digital era, this revolution. Can we sit down and think? And before you act, first say, how do I benefit? Like that question, they should pose it to themselves. Where do I benefit from? Or I go there with integrity and honesty, and then what do I get out? You see that? So that instead of someone saying, let me go and okufera, woodwinking someone. So you go and say, I'm going to work with integrity, but this is what I'm going to get out. So AI is very good. You can use it to make money. There's this time I asked the question, how can I make $10,000 in a month? And they gave me a whole transcript of the possible ways of making a $10,000. Yes, it is possible because you can. They told me you have to invest, you have to do this, you have, yeah. So let's utilize that for the benefit of the people around you. Then again, people who are accumulating wealth to themselves, you just accumulate it to yourself. At the end of the day, when you are no more, this wealth goes back to the people. If you accumulated it out of ill-gotten wealth, will also go to the people you don't even know. And yet, if you got it the right way, then it will benefit your people even when you are not around. So let's consider being people of integrity, and you do the things the right way. And there, you are sure that what you are doing is the right thing. And when you release that greed, you are not greedy, then you will do things that benefit a community, not you as an individual.
Okay. Doctor, there is, we cannot overlook the fact that Ugandans or Africans at large are so creative. They are so much into the creative industry. People compose, people create a lot of things. In fashion, the other time we are seeing someone sewing a dress on stage in just a few minutes. Someone had to put it on, and I mean, this is all creativity. But again, when you look into the inner depth of the creations, you realize that there's come a song where people say, it is hard to thrive in the creative industry. How can young people take advantage of the talents, the skills, and the creativity they hold to look at this as a strength into their potential in entrepreneurship?
Yes, in Africa, we can look at the music,
yes,
the art, and the fashion, and the like. But you see, being creative, it has a limit. Because you may be creative today and you produce something new, and tomorrow it is a little bit like watered. Something new comes on. So every day there is, that's why the Bible says that his mercies are new every morning, and we move from glory to glory. So in this case, if you are sure that you are going to invest in the music industry or in the art, So you need to think, to become a thinker. I was watching on social media and someone who said that the brains that have not been utilized are the brains of Africans, because there is no Africa. They said if they say you are selling the brains, the one for the British, it can go for 5,000. Another one, it can go for 10,000. But the one for Africa, it can go for $1 million because it has not been utilized, meaning it is still virgin and it is brand new. So that brain, can we utilize it right now and do something that has not been done before? When you list the people who have influenced the world, there are few Africans that you can talk about. If you talk of Dangote, if you talk of what, maybe Elon Musk, I understand he's an African, but who had to thrive when he went to the US. So can we have this innovative kind of approach here in Africa, whereby we allow Africans to think as Africans and do solve their own problems? There is a time when they were giving the batwa. The batwa is like these Pygmies people in Kisoro. Someone went there and said, the batwa live in the forest, they don't have houses, and therefore he made a research. And then he made a very good grant proposal, and they decided to build for them iron sheet houses. And they were all happy. They entered the houses and stayed. And at night when it rained, they were not used of that noise of iron sheets. All of them ran back into the bush. So they said that God must be what? Must be crazy. So when they ran back into the bushes, we realized that it was not participant observation. They never included them in the decision making, because they would have asked them what is their problem instead of thinking for them. So that is the problem with us, Africa. We have people who are thinking for us, but we are not thinking for ourselves. But we need to train our young people to think for themselves, and we solve our own problems. Yes, we can borrow a leaf from different other countries, but we can do it in our way, in our fashion.
Okay. I think according to the inception of the new lower level or ordinary level secondary school curriculum, one of the things they are fronting is problem solving. Look into the community and problem that solve that problem at hand. And I think this is a good gesture for the next generation. Unlike our curriculum, where the teacher was the deputy God in knowledge, what the teacher says is what is right. You don't question it. So I think that is something that is really very good. We started with agriculture, and we also talked about food safety, and we talked about the Karamoja and what. But are there any opportunities that young people can really look out for? Because when you look at agriculture and food safety, much as we say that agriculture is the backbone of Uganda, as per our social studies, then not very many people have really engaged into commercial agriculture. You realize that in very many villages, people are still doing subsistence farming, and I think this is one of the issues that the president raised when in the northern Uganda, where he talked about the 4-acre model, which I think is aimed at commercializing agriculture, but other opportunities that people can pick out from, instead of looking at what do I get for my stomach today, and look at what problem I can solve for Uganda as in terms of food security.
Yes, well, the young people, like we said, they are a big resource to this country. And once they are harnessed, they are the ones who will take care of the future of Africa. So if we are to begin with them right now with the new curriculum that is on, that it is hands-on, what they study, they practice, and they do it. So if they are going to take on agriculture, then we need to see how agriculture is going to benefit them in terms of bringing income to their pockets. So the 4-acre model that the president talked about is basically like trying to transform agriculture from the traditional subsistence commercial. But you well know that the land in Uganda, especially where I come from, in the western part of the country, like this region, we have a problem with land utilization. And there are a lot of terraces, and because people are literally sharing the little land that is there. No one wants to combine with the other to work together. And again, mechanization may also be very high. Unless like it is government effort through the PDM or parish development model to come up and help these people with like machinery that they can use to mechanize agriculture. If we can have like a tractor at every parish, whereby whoever wants to do it can only put fuel and use the tractor, maybe to plow the land, then I can go back with my hoe and finish whatever I have to do, rather than just giving people hoes on how to go about it. So young people, they need to know that it is not about just getting the job and then it on, but it is about what they find food on the table, and also to put some money in their pocket.
Okay. Because you realize that actually very many young people do not want to look at agriculture as an opportunity. This is why very many of us are selling our land in the village and come here to Kampala to look for greener pastures, and you end up buying yourself a motorbike to do border business, or these days people are starting to do transport business. So someone buys a small car to do business, and you realize that none of us is looking at agriculture, even when we know that this is what our parents were using to sustain their living. Then we think maybe these were outdated, or these were for their time, and this is a new era where we should come up with new innovations, and we think these are the innovations we have come up with, which I really don't think is true. But we are glad that you're talking about food security, and you're talking about agriculture, and encouraging people to especially look at commercial agriculture. This is, I think, very, very important, that if people are to benefit out of agriculture, then it should be commercial agriculture.
Yes, I had ADB, Africa Development Bank. They were giving out $2 million for fertilizers to be used in agriculture. But I realized that, okay, personally, fertilizers may not be the problem. The problem is we need to mechanize agriculture, and people do it. Our soils are still virgin, and they are still fertile. They can still produce, and we use fertilizer at the minimal level. But now the problem with fertilizer that we may use it, and tomorrow you will not produce anything without what? The fertilizer. It may come as a free thing, but tomorrow you will not produce anything from that same ground without what? Fertilizer. And I think this is one of the, that's why I need the policy makers to look at it. Like whenever something comes glittering, $2 million, and you are like, yes, I am going to accept. But at the end of it all, if someone gives you a seed, and that is a seed that probably has been genetically modified, you have to depend on that person all the time to give you the what? The seed. But our grandparents used to keep seeds, and they eat part of it and they keep it for the next generation. But these days the seeds are also been what? Corrupted. If you need like maize long, there is what they call long 19, those kind of, you have to depend on it. So here I'm not instigating people not to accept the policies, but I am instigating them to think before they act, especially our policy makers, because they are the ones who should know why is someone doing what they are doing. Someone may give you a fertilizer, and tomorrow he may give it to you for free now, but tomorrow he will sell it to you very expensively. You understand? Someone may give you a free seed today. After changing it and you no longer have a seed, tomorrow you'll have to buy it a seed. And in the food security, then you have to depend on this person in order to eat. And if you cannot supply your own food, then you are what? You're finished. If I can depend on you to eat, then I have to kneel before you every day. I have to dance according to the tunes. So this one, I don't want it to be, I want it to be on record that before people think of any policy, especially us who are in the opinion leaders, if you're going to do something, do it not because it is you who is here right now seated in this chair, but there is a future that we are preserving. Think about your grandchildren. Think about your great-grandchildren. If you just pass a policy because someone has given you what? A tip. Tomorrow it will turn against you. Let's look at the member of parliament. They can just be there and probably they pass a policy simply because he knows he's on a better advantage. But tomorrow when he's no longer in the parliament, does he think how that same policy will affect them? So let's look at that. Read between the lines, especially the youth. They may not be having the capacity right now to make the decisions for themselves, but at least the policy makers that we have and the legislators should be able to make policies that are not corruptible, which can be for the future of this country, Uganda, and of this continent, Africa.
Doctor, as we wind up this discussion, what should be the take-home message for a young person watching us out there?
The take-home thing for the young person watching us tonight, yeah, we say, please, Church of Uganda Family TV has always availed these opportunities for family finances and wealth. So, as a young person there, always tune in for such programs because they are very educative. Then take initiative also to call and find out how can I be helped, because there are people who are willing to help you with the little money, with the little resources that you have in order to begin a business and be able to flourish. So as we said, entrepreneurship is the key. So we shall say one at a time, one step at a time. So you begin with the little that you have, and then when you invest it, believe God who multiplies, and after some time you will see the benefit. And it has to take patience. Let it be known to you today that you have to be patient. Rome was not built in one day, but at least it was built time after time. So let's consider precept upon precept. Young people, don't haste to become rich so quickly. Begin with a little and then grow naturally. I have seen people who hit jackpots and at the end of the day, they are back to square zero. They don't have the money. I have seen people who their parents leave a massive wealth for them, and at the end of the day, they have nothing to show. So all you have to do is learn the art of entrepreneurship and be the master of it and build it step by step until you get to the top.
Thank you so much, Doctor. In a minute or less, do you want to send any greetings?
Yes, I want to send greetings to my dear wife. We've just had a baby boy.
Oh,
He's
wow.
called Kowach Bushali, and Ben Kowach Bushali. Ben is our family name and like the connotation of our name. So, and also to the esteemed members of Africa Population Institute, the students and the teaching staff and non-teaching staff. Yeah, I'm always here to represent you and to present your views. So when people come knocking at API, at Africa Population Institute, please open for them the door. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Doctor, and thank you so much to you, our viewer. It was such an interesting topic and interesting elaboration, especially on matters to do with the young people out there, because you are, you are our brothers. So your interests are, our interests should be aimed at growing together as a generation. Now, there's something that Doctor talked about, flourishing. The good news this evening is that a Flourishing Hub is back on air, and so every Saturday at 2 p.m. This is our our original time. So Saturday, 2 p.m., Flourishing Hub is back on air. Therefore, as a young person, make sure you do not miss any single episode of Flourishing Hub. Your life will not remain the same. Adrian Austin Mkalazi is my name. I thank you so much for watching. And from the entire team, Norman Conte, Jonan, and very many other people out there working here and there to see that you have this image. It's a good night. Next is Soul Moment.